Welcome to my YouTube channel and to my train room. If you are watching last week's video, you'll have seen me start on a kit bash of the Northern Pacific Pine City Bridge. This week I'm going to continue with that same project, so let's turn the camera around, follow along, and I hope you enjoy it. Now the pictures of this bridge show a very short trestle at one end and a much longer trestle at the other end. I'm going to build the short end to scale and then just shorten the other end to fit the space I have available. So I've shortened the beams. If we look here, there's the end wall, there's two bends, and then there's a short span to the steel bit. So I've cut these off accordingly. And the first bend here is a very short one without bracing on it, because it's almost buried in the dirt. And then the second one is a full height one. I need to make sure that it's square. And then there's another low one at the end which goes right in front of the wall. And now I'm going to use some of these pieces of bracing that I cut off for the diagonals. The photograph shows diagonal bracing between the bends. I've got to get rid of the bolt detail. I wonder if the easiest way of doing it is going to be just to notch this diagonal and then have it sitting on top. And then the top end I will cut to length later. So now I just want to get them installed. And that is the south end of the bridge done. I think the next thing I have to do is build the piers. But now that I have a part of the trestle and the steel section done, I can calculate the heights. Well, I've been working on the two piers. I'm building the top two layers as sub-assemblies, and then I'm going to turn it over and put the tapered walls in. I've still got a lot of cleaning up to do. I made these top sections out of 60 thou styrene with 100 by 100 strip, and I made it so it fits inside at one end and runs long at the other. That way it's a simple matter to get everything to fit perfectly just by trimming it off and then finishing it with a piece of sandpaper. It's a lot easier than trying to get the lengths absolutely perfect to start with. I'm not going to attempt to get these to fit on camera because there's going to be a lot of cutting and filing. At the moment some of them are probably a little bit oversized, so I will do that quietly while I'm not trying to rush for the camera. So don't go away, I will check in with you again later. Well, here are my two piers taking shape. I've got the tapered sections on. I've reinforced the corners with more 100 by 100 strip. Technically it's not a perfect 90 degrees because of the taper, but it's close enough. I'm going to let all this solvent go hard before I clean them up, and then at that point that is where the construction starts to differ, because one of them has a flat base on it and the other has what I can only describe as two short fat legs. So I'm going to put these aside and get on with other parts of the structure, and I'll be right back. Don't go away. Well, I've built the longer part of the trestle now. I've copied the cross bracing as near as I can see. Because I don't have enough length available, I've omitted the whole of this metal beam section here, which according to the information I have was a later improvement anyway. I don't know what used to be there during the period of the layout. And I've also had to omit one of these timber bends. And as I said earlier, the central span is a little shorter as well. And with those omissions, it now fits the space I have available. I think it'll still be a reasonable rendition of the original. I think now it's time to finish the concrete piers. I've got all the sub-assemblies and they should be hard enough now to file off or to clean up. So let's start working on that. Well, I have all my major sub-assemblies built. The major task to do now is to arrange the walkways and handrails. And since the handrails are actually cantilevered off the tie strip, I think what I'm going to have to do is add to that. I think I'm going to do that before I attach them. Well, I've gone back to the detail photographs that I have upstairs, and the long ties are approximately 3 per bent spacing. So that works out to every 5th tie that I've got to remove and replace with a piece of 80 by 80. It's quite tedious. I've got to cut out every 5th tie. Then I can trim off most of that little bit that's left over with my sprue cutters. And then I need to finish it up with the edge of a rectangular file. And I've got to make sure that I don't go too far, otherwise the rail won't sit flat. Well, I've glued all my long 8x8s in. At the moment they are cut over length, so I can just throw them in. I've got the walkways down the side, which are actually structural, because it corrects any imperfections in the filing job that I was doing when I was last on camera. I've drawn a straight line down the side so the marks are all the same, and now I've just got to cut them off. Right, everything's cut off to length. Now I've just got to fashion the handrails. Well, I've got my walkways on and all the posts in for the handrails. I've still got to put the angle pieces on the back and the horizontals. I had to get a file and recess the bottoms of all the new white ties that I put in, which was a bit of a pain. If I was starting again, I wouldn't dig out the ties, I would just glue the footboards on, because I realized afterwards that that would give enough strength. It's a continuous joint, it would still have been the strongest part of the handrail, and then the tie extensions could just be hung off that. It'd have been a lot easier and probably neater as well, but I've done it this way now. Now the top handrail needs to be a 2x12, and then the bottom one is a 2x6. At least that's my estimate based on the prototype photographs. Now actually I'm going to go with a 2x10 because that will give slightly wider gaps. I think if I put a 2x12 it's going to hide too much of the opening. Now on the prototype the handrails ran long at the end, so I'm going to let them run just a little bit long as well. Well, I have decided that I am going to glue the decks on at this stage. I think if I try to build the railings on this one now, it's going to end in disaster. I think it will pull itself apart under its own weight. Well, here is the bridge all ready for paint. It's still in several sub-assemblies. They're just resting together right now. With the bridge all ready for paint, I'm going to terminate this video here. I'm going to make one more installment where I'll paint it, weather it, and install it on the layout. I don't think it's going to be next week. More than likely there's going to be a couple more videos I want to post before then. But I will put it up eventually, and I hope to see you then. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.